Hello there! Welcome back. This is the third episode of Y Engines. This one will be quite long. I hope it will be not too long. I may have to divide this episode into two sections, or two sub-episode, because the farm stuff is really long. There's a lot to go over. Alright, so last episode I basically talked about the experimental power production through water steam cycle. Okay, I didn't talk about the Reisenberg yet. Okay, so we'll squeeze in the Reisenberg somewhere in the other episodes. Alright, so this is now the middle chest. So the middle chest comes with a few more buildings. I touched base on the Fat My cycle engines already, so you already know what it does. What it does is it basically is a pollution condenser. It scrubs pollution. This is very useful building, in my opinion. If you play only with the basic Yuoki Industries, then the only way to scrub your pollution is either by trees, the trees that exist on the map, by the monument, right? The owner's monument, which is a light, right? Owner's monument. Where'd it go? Right here. And this light, of course, you can turn on day and night if you set the network condition. And if you play with this mod, Y Engines, then you have a third way to condense pollution. Of course, if you play with other mods, you may have some other ways, but this one is simply using water plus some energy, and you can create this condensed pollution. And if you have enough of this condensed pollution, then you will squeeze it down in an assembler, and it will create mixed solid fuel. Okay, so mixed solid fuel is a fuel that would have been created by coal dust in crushed F7, but if with the Y engines, then you can create the mixed solid fuel through condensed pollution. And two more buildings that I have not talked about. The one here is also a very recent addition. I told you before that I asked Yuoki to add a way to bottle up fluids, and so he did. He added this building called the Fluid Handle Machinery. Okay, what it really is a assembler, right? But it's a bit different than vanilla assembler, in that it only creates the bottling of certain fluids. So you can see that here it can also bottle the vanilla oil. Okay, but it has its own handling way of bottling fluids. So vanilla, you can just barrel stuff. You don't need to have any kind of expendable material, right? You put in a steel barrel, you put in the crude oil, and of course you get a filled barrel with crude oil, right? And then you take the same filled crude barrel of oil, go transport it somewhere else, and then you use the same building to unpack this. Not the same way in Yuoki. You have to use this thing called sealing. So it says prevents leaking. I guess it's just a little O-ring or something on the little tanks here. And as you notice, there are two kind of configuration, right? You need to create the empty canisters, and for each of the kind of fluids, there are two configuration. Either the tank is sitting up, or the tank is being poured, okay, tipping over. So this means you are emptying the liquid, and this means you are filling the liquid. Okay, so there are several kind of liquids. You have blood. This is something that's strange. But basically, imagine that you are slaughtering alien bugs and you're collecting their blood. Okay. This here is light oil, although it says ethanol. It actually is light oil. And then you have lubricant, right? And then you have the hydraulic fluid itself, so you can generate all of the MF from one location in your base, and you transport this elsewhere to be used. And last is the slurry, as well as the oil. That vegetable oil that I talked about, but not yet show you how to make it. So slurry, what is slurry? Well, unless you are a farmer, you don't know what slurry is, right? Slurry actually is animal poop. you farm these alien bugs, and when you kill them, well, in the process of them growing up, they generate a lot of liquid manure, and so that's what slurry is. Okay, so that's that for the liquid handler. I will show you later how to use the liquid handler. I talked already about the fast assembler, so it's really just like the vanilla assembler, only a bit faster, but there are certain formulas it has no access to, so watch out. Alright, the last building is the frame farm. Now this farm is unique in that you can see that it's rather large, right? It is a 5x5 building, and the liquid, there's only certain ways you can put liquid, right? Depending on the recipe that you choose, it either takes water, okay, or water and slurry. Okay, so you can see water and slurry. Alright, so what do you do with the farm? Alright, actually forgot one more building. Okay, so similar to the farms, you also have something called a cage. Okay, now the cage is for farming meat or alien. So you put in alien DNA and water, as well as food. Okay, in this case corn and sugar cane or vulgar cane, and it grows it, and it provides you with slurry and blood, as well as meat. Alright, so farms. There are two kind of plants that you create with the farms. It receives corn seed, and it creates, of course, corn. Right? The other one is sugar cane. In here he calls it vulgar cane. Okay, it's just a replacement of the S with a V, and you get vulgar. So it's actually sugar cane. So we'll refer to it as sugar cane, okay, instead of the vulgar cane that the actual item is. And with the sugar cane, you basically make sugar with it, industrial sugar. The sugar is then used in combination with corn to make rabio. Rabio is something that is a renewable fuel. Okay, you can see that it has 80 megajoules worth of energy when you burn it. So, but rabio itself can also be transformed into light oil. So if that's the route that you want to use, you can use that. The other way, the other thing that you can make with the sugar cane is triphyton. So if you combine corn and triphyton in a crusher, you will get the triphyton. Excuse me. If you combine corn and sugar cane in a crusher with some water, then you get triphyton. I don't know what triphyton is. That's why the description is like what? I don't know what triphyton is, but I'm guessing that it's some kind of cellulose. So the cellulose actually is used to make synthetic wood. So it's equivalent to raw wood. There's another use for triphyton, which is to make sealing. Okay, so without it, you can't make the sealing. Therefore, if you want to bottle any fluid, you're gonna have to farm. Okay, so I have an actual schematics of how things are related in a bit. So the cage requires DNA. DNA is very expensive, at least the first DNA that you create. So the first DNA that you create requires quite a bit of potions, or the research flasks. So it requires 20 of the blue ones and 100 of the green ones. Okay, in order to make the first DNA, plus with 5 alien artifacts. So you can either have to go to kill the aliens from their nest and raid their nest, or you can transform alien data fragments with the research science packs, you know, to make the fake or artificial alien artifacts. So either way can be used to make the first DNA. Okay, with the DNA as well as food, it eats corn and sugar cane. You can then create the aliens, which gives you raw meat, which can be cooked into cooked meat. Okay. These other things that you see over here are the intermediate materials used to create the buildings in Y engine. So you got iron housing, you You got e-motor windings as well as the heat exchanger part. Okay, so I won't go over the formula. You can see them here. So you can see that it's very basic: copper plate, iron plate, iron plate, iron plate, and copper cable. That's it. Nothing complicated. Okay. Although the recipes for the other ones may be complicated, so watch out. Okay. So the gating of this of the Y engines is so long as you can create what? It's actually, yeah, it's actually quite high because instable quaternium is very expensive. Yeah, it's high because in order to create instable quaternium, you need to create the quaternium itself, which requires the atomic quantum composer. Okay, and the quantum composer itself is a high requirement building. Alright, so that's a lot to swallow. I think it's better graphically, right? I make this diagram or schematics in using factorial belts to show you the flow of materials. So we can start anywhere, but we'll start basically at the right. So the main part of Y engines, for now at least, is farming. Okay. The other machines that you see are obviously there, but recently Yuoki added farming, and the farming has expanded the complexity of Y engines. Of course, it won't stay this way, right? Mainly, Yuoki will eventually move this to its own tab, so that the farming itself will be part, maybe perhaps part of the basic Yuoki Industries. But we'll see. All right, so in order to farm, you would need to create your first seed. You have to start with corn. Okay, there's no other way to start with farming. You have to start with corn. Corn, you need to first start with making wood. Okay, there is a formula that you transform wood into your corn seed. So you need 50 raw wood. You can either generate the raw wood from mining the woods around, or you will have to use tree farm, something to make the wood. Okay. Is there any way to make wood? I don't think so. Not with Yuoki Industries. Yeah, it's the only way. You can make wood via the triphyton, but without these other stuff upstream, you cannot make wood. All right, so wood goes immediately into the first seed. Once you get the first seed, you will grow corn. Okay, so initially you will grow corn with just water. All right, and if you just grow it with water, you will see that it takes 300 seconds in order to grow. These craft at the speed of 1, so that's going to be 300 seconds, which is 5 minutes. And you get basically 500 corn. Okay, so the 500 corn, if I were you, I would put it into the next way of making seeds, which is to use the corn itself. 20 corn makes 1 seed. Therefore, if you are doing math, this frame farm, 1 corn farm, is able to make enough seeds for 25 farms. Right? 500 divided by 20 is, of course, 25 seeds. And you only require 1 seed in order to grow 500 corn. So that means you need 1 corn farm that makes seeds for 24 other corn farms that you're going to grow. Okay. So once you have enough of these corn seeds, you can then use the corn seeds to make the sugar cane seed. How this works, I don't know. I guess it's some kind of transformation or genetic manipulation. And you get this thing called a Vulgar seed. Okay, so Vulgar seed instead of sugar seed. So unlike the corn, the Vulgar seeds, you need 3 of them in order to grow your first Vulgar cane. Okay, so you need 3 Vulgar seeds, and you grow 300 Vulgar cane. The Vulgar cane grows in 420 seconds, so it is slower than the corn. Therefore, if you do any kind of growing in large scale, you will always have more corn farm than sugarcane farm or Vulgar farms. Okay. Alright, so what do we do with the corn and the sugar? I mean the sugar cane. Well, sugar cane immediately goes into making industrial sugar, which is this building here. So you just have to follow the belts, right? That's the routes, that's where things are taking. So the sugar, industrial sugar, is combined with the corn itself to make the rabio. Alright? And the rabio can either be burned or be added to the chemical factory in order to make light oil. Alright, so this is a renewable way of getting light oil. Let's say you run out of oil, you don't have any more crude oil, you need desperately some light oil. You can invest your time in farming and you will get your light oil. Okay. And if you have more than enough light oil, then you can turn the light oil into unicom. Alright. So what else do you do with sugar? The sugar can be combined with the slurry. Alright, so slurry is something that of course comes from aliens. Okay, you have to feed the alien. So think of these aliens as cows. Alright, so you feed the quote-unquote alien cows, and these of course will give you the liquid manure. So you can ferment the sugar with the liquid manure, and you also get some light oil. Alright, so let's not talk about the top part yet. Let's talk about the bottom. Alright, because once you, well, if you are serious about farming, you're obviously going to go all the way, right? You're going to farm your corn and sugar cane in order to have feed material for your aliens. Why? Because it's actually very useful. The aliens gives out liquid manure. Okay, the liquid manure is mainly used in the farm. Okay, because there is an alternative growing formula. So this recipe here uses liquid manure, water, and the corn seed, and gives you 600 corn, and which is grown in 200 seconds. So this shortens the growing time as well as gives you more corn. Alright, so your productivity is increased dramatically. Same thing with the sugar cane. Okay, so this is a positive feedback cycle. You only need a few of these animal cages to farm for your aliens in order to increase your sugar cane as well as corn farms. Okay, as you can see, in order to grow one alien, or excuse me, not grow one alien, but in order to grow some alien, in this case 44 of them, you are going to need 140 corn and 50 of the sugar cane or vulgar cane, and 600 seconds. Okay, so you're going to have quite a number of these cages in order to provide enough of the manure for the corn, because these are 600 seconds, and this here is 200 seconds, and it requires 48 slurry. So you're gonna have to do some math in order to work out the ratio between your cages as well as the farms. Okay, I haven't built the cage with farms yet, so when I build that, I probably will go back with another episode to show you an example of how it's done. Okay, so let's look at the here, right? So this here, when you kill the animals, you get blood. All right, so blood is immediately either traded. You can either trade the blood, so you can can the blood, and when you trade the blood, I'm guessing people use this for infusion. I don't know, but you can get reputation. Right? Remember reputation? Reputation is something you use to trade for fuel cell C. At least at the moment, it's only used for fuel cell C. Maybe Yukitani will add some other stuff for the reputation. But the main use for the blood, of course, is to create more of the alien DNA. Alright, so you notice how the icon is a little different, right? This is blue. When you create your first DNA, it's blue, this blue icon. And when it's created from blood, it has this kind of red patch over here. Although they act the same. Okay, so they have the same action. Alright. You need, of course, provided some mechanical fluid. Okay, it needs blood and some meat as well. I forgot the meat part. So you need meat and science packs. Okay. And you feed the DNA back, and you go to farm some more. Alright, so what do we do with the meat? So the meat is either traded directly and you get Unicomp as well as some more DNA. The recipe for this is actually quite high. 120 meat to get 4 Unicomp and 1 DNA. Okay? Obviously you cannot just trade meat for your DNA. So you're going to have to use blood to make the DNA. So the DNA that you get from trading is just some extra DNA. The Unicomp that you get from trading meat also is some extra Unicomp. Don't count on farming as a way to generate lots and lots of Unicomp. Right? That is not one. At least that wrenching is not the way to generate lots and lots of Unicomp. The meat can also be cooked. If you cook it, then you get cooked meat. Cooked meat is traded for quantrinum. Alright? Quantrinum is then, of course, make instable quantrinum. Excuse me. So this is one way to make quantrinum. If you don't want to go into the entire process of making quantrinum, then you can use the cooked meat. It's a sizable amount of cooked meat, right? You need 370 cooked meat to get 1 quantrinum. So that's a you would have to have a lot of wrench in order to create that. Alright, so I talked about this over here already. Let's continue forward. Alright, so the main use of corn, of course, is to make vegetable oil. Okay, I show you here a self-sufficient cycle. So what you do is you crush some of the vegetable, crush some of the corn. The corn is made into vegetable oil. The vegetable oil here is burned, quote unquote, in a liquid fuel engine, and that creates MF. And the MF goes back into the crusher, right, into this form press machine. And of course, this just go on and on and on. And you will generate eventually a lot of this vegetable oil. Okay. This vegetable oil is then, of course, either used as lubricant in another engine to burn to create more MF, or you can turn it into Unicomp. Okay, this method here actually generates a sizable amount of Unicomp. Okay, a lot of Unicomp, in fact. So if you are serious about farming, you can generate a lot of Unicomp, but of course you would need a lot of space. Okay. So what are the use with corn? If you combine sugarcane raw with corn, then you can make the triphyton, like I said before. The triphyton is either turned into raw wood, if that's what you want. By the way, the raw wood itself can also be made into Unicomp, right? So you can turn the raw wood into Unicomp as well. That was in the previous episode when I talked about all the different transformation. Okay, but the main use of the triphyton is in fact to make the liquid sealant. Okay, so you need to add sugarcane, some more sugarcane, the triphyton, hydraulic pressure fluid, MF, some copper, in order to make the sealant. So the sealant is then used in all these other formulas, right, to seal. So you can can lubricant, you can can oil, light oil. You can can mechanical force, or MF. You can can slurry, as well as you can can the blood. Okay. Now, blood canning, you must can the blood in order to trade it. So you cannot trade liquid. So you have to can the bloods in order to trade the blood. So I'm guessing that's the main use of one of the main use of this sealant. Then, okay. Now the same building is that can it will be the building that uncan it. So where is it now? 5. Right? So it is the same formula. You just tipped over the can, and that's the uncanning part of this thing. That's it. Okay. Notice how it comes out. Okay. So this covers the economy, microeconomy of Yuoki white engines for farming. So you can see is a lot of play or things you can do in farms. Frankly, I think it's quite fun. Okay, so we'll come back in the next episode and I will show you some application of the farms. See you soon.